Further debate. Member from Guelph.
Thank you, Speaker. It's always an honor to rise in the House. Today I rise to speak to Bill 257. And I'll have to say, Speaker, on March 4th, when I saw that this bill was introduced, I was actually pretty excited because I spent all summer hearing about the need for broadband. And I'd happily voted for a bill to make broadband an essential service. I'd voted for a motion about supporting rural and remote broadband. And so I thought, well, maybe we'd have a bill that everyone in the House could get behind to get broadband to rural and remote communities. And then I read Schedule 3, and I thought, oh, we have a bill that about broadband, tucked into it is an effort to facilitate the environmental destruction of the Duffins Creek wetland. I couldn't believe it, Speaker. And now today we learn it's destruction to facilitate an Amazon warehouse. So I'm thinking of all these small business owners all across Ontario trying to compete online with Amazon, needing better broadband, knowing that in the same bill is a schedule to facilitate environmental destruction for an Amazon warehouse, which they'll have to compete with. Speaker, how many times is the government going to change what they're doing when it comes to the MZO that was issued on October 30th of 2020 to facilitate this development? So they do the MZO, and then in December they come out with a bill, and tucked into that bill is an attack on Conservation Authority's ability to protect us from flooding. And then when the TRCA said, you know what, we'll fulfill our obligation to protect people from flooding, the government comes back with amendments that's going to actually force conservation authorities to issue development permits, even when the science tells them not to, the evidence tells them not to, and they're actually going to put people and property at risk. And as a matter of fact, the minister last week actually directed the TRCA to do that, and they have to do it by Friday of this week. And I don't know if you've read the report, the staff report, Speaker, they've put out on that, but it clearly highlights the environmental destruction of this. So then when groups ask for an injunction to stop this destruction, the government on March 4th comes up with a broadband bill that basically makes it illegal for people to seek a judicial review to make sure the government complies with its own laws, the provincial policy statement. And so, Speaker, how many times is the government, what links is the government going to go to facilitate the destruction of wetlands for an Amazon warehouse, and why?
Thank you very much. Time for questions. Member from Barrie Innisfil.
Thank you, Speaker. Just want to talk, listening to the member from Guelph and his support for broadband infrastructure, and just want to talk about he's a very great agricultural community in his riding. They're doing a lot of innovative stuff at the university there, but a lot of the things that farmers rely on, we talked about in this House before, was the Internet of Things and how they're moving to technology, and they obviously need access to broadband. So what does the member with the riding he represents see in terms of those prospects for those farmers or future when it comes to technological updates to their farming techniques and being able to access broadband, and how that will change their techniques and their future and the future of farming jobs? Thank you.
Thank you. To the member from Guelph for response.
Speaker, one of the reasons I think broadband should be an essential service, and I wish the government would vote for legislation that would declare it essential service so we make sure everyone in this province has access to it, is because I know it'll be a game changer for farming and for farmers. And so there are parts of this bill that certainly are good in that respect. But I can tell you, Speaker, I've had organizations like the Ontario Farmland Trust, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, the National Farmers Union, all kinds of farm organizations reaching out to me with concerns about the way in which this government's attacking conservation authorities, the way in which Highway 413 is going to pave over farmland. And I can tell you, I spoke at a protest in Pickering on Saturday, and I was shocked that there were people from Guelph that had actually traveled there because that far, because they care so much about protecting wetlands, and they know how important it is for everybody in our province.